Oh, hi everyone. It's Lorianne Casdier from LDC Strategies, and we are here today doing a seminar with some of our mentoring clients, and we are talking about don't get distracted by urgency. So let me give you an example. We're going to just jump right in here. So putting off some of the non-urgent yet important projects like creating strategic vision, establishing a talent development process for your department, and identifying someone to groom as your successor. These are important yet non-urgent items that will determine your long-term success at the company. So you're facing a very common challenge of ensuring that these projects are prioritized correctly. And I'm sure each of us have had those challenges of, okay, cart horse, cart horse. Well, it's a balancing act that foils many leaders. And whether they're new in a role or long-term veterans, well, here's how to get the balance right, okay? So former President Dwight D. Eisenhower said this: I have two kinds of problems, the urgent and the important. The urgent are rarely important, and the important are rarely urgent. Well, that's a problem that many leaders face, and many of us have faced, right? Right? Yeah. So long-term strategies are at risk of being crowded out by more urgent day-to-day tactical items. So here are some tips to avoid distraction, create more effective prioritization, and it's known as the Eisenhower Matrix. So what we do is we categorize all our demands into 4 buckets, okay? The first bucket is important and urgent. Okay, important and urgent defined like this: things that have a high impact on business and that are critical to your success and have a tight, specific time frame for delivery. Important and urgent, right? Okay. Important but not urgent. Things that have a high impact on business but are not under a tight or specific time frame. Often these are critical projects for making long-term impact. Makes sense? Important but not urgent. Not important but urgent. Things that have a low impact on long-term business results but are in a tight time frame and are visible. These tend to be tactical, day-to-day operational demands, and they're often non-strategic items. 3, the third one, takes a lot of our time, right? Not important but urgent. And the fourth category is not important and not urgent. These are things that have a low impact on long-term business results and are not under a tight or specific time frame. Well, most people think what? Important and urgent, right? Items are highest risk. Typically, this is not the case. Important and urgent items tend to attract attention and therefore they get done, right? Okay. So we always the loudest voice, right? The noisiest wheel, the squeaky wheel, right? So in reality, important but not urgent is the biggest risk area. Let me say that again. Important but non-urgent is the biggest risk area, because those are the projects then that we tend to perpetually deprioritize, and sometimes even by unimportant but urgent tasks, right? I call this getting distracted by urgency, and the dynamic can seriously derail leadership effectiveness. Some leaders believe the lack of progress on an important but not urgent items is a time management issue, but that's often a distraction from the real issue. So all people, all teams have finite time and resources, right? Oh, right, no. So good leadership means making decisions about what work will and will not be done. We all face it every day, for ourselves, for our teams, for our businesses. So long-term success is about making the best and the most strategic decisions. That means avoiding distraction by urgency and ensuring that key resources are always focused on the right priorities. It's not about time management. It's about focusing on leadership priorities. I'm going to say that again. It's not about time management. It's about focusing on leadership priorities. So rather than thinking about time management, focus on three key leadership principles. Okay. The first key leadership principle is clarify long-term vision and goals. Clarify long-term vision and goals. Perhaps the most important thing for any leader's success is clarity on long-term vision and goals. That means understanding the value you want to deliver and why the organization will be better off as a result. So we talk about this a lot, right, guys? That we need to look at our long-term vision, and it's constantly getting tweaked. We have an idea, a concept, a bubble of what it's going to look like, but how we get there in our goals, those don't change. Our vision and our goals don't change. It's how the process gets there. So that means understanding the value you want to deliver and why the organization will be better off as a result. The more senior the leadership role, the more important the long-term vision and goals become. So articulate a long-term vision for your team. Be clear on the results you want to deliver and use the vision to align your team around the right initiatives, the ones that will have the most important impact. Use your long-term vision as a filter for prioritization. In most cases, that will prioritize the most important tasks and help you avoid distraction by urgency. And even if you don't have a team, do it for yourself. You need to have that long-term vision. You need to set those goals, and you need to do the right initiatives in the right order, right? It's like making a cake. You have to do it in the right order so it comes out good, right? And we want it all to taste well. So a second thing we need to focus on is cultivate a team and delegate effectively. So if you do have a team, or if you're going to have a team, you need to cultivate talent. You need to keep looking out for talent that you can cultivate and delegate to effectively. And in order to delegate, you really have to understand what the goal is, what your vision is. So when leaders find themselves saddled with a high number of urgent items and unable to tend to important priorities, it's a good idea to look at delegation, right? So to what extent can you delegate less important projects to others on your team? Well, do you have the level of talent in your organization that allows you to deliver minimum supervision? Well, when delegation or talent development are insufficient, leaders will find themselves overwhelmed and not feeling comfortable delegating. And delegation is a learned art as well, and we've spoken about that before, and a couple of you were going to be speaking about it. It's a little highlight. But delegation is an important role as a leader. You need to be able to delegate. You need to be able to give concise direction so that delegation means and is meaningful to the person who's doing it. And that also leaves you in a feeling that your talent has been sufficiently developed that you can delegate to them. Make sense? So cultivate a level of talent in your team that will allow others to assume responsibility for less important items. Build your ability to delegate with clear expectations and establish systems that will allow you to manage delivery with less direct involvement. And the last thing, because I know I'm going on very long today, but I think it's an important topic. Don't you agree? Okay. Negotiate and learn to strategically say no. Let me say that again. Negotiate and learn to strategically say no. The reality of finite resources means that not everything can be done. As a result, all leaders will at some point find themselves in a position where not all expectations can be met. That means having to negotiate with stakeholders, and those stakeholders could include your boss, external customers, or peers. So some people will be let down. Some people are not going to be happy, but we have to keep it within expectations, right? And it's all about communication. All leaders must build their ability to negotiate effectively in those situations. That way they can better determine when it's necessary to strategically say no to demands and ensure that finite resources are always allocated to the right priorities. I hope that makes sense. I hope that helps. Let's get into a dialogue. Please feel free to make comments. If you have any questions, just jot them down. I'll answer them because typically your questions, other people want answers to. They have the same questions, and it will help the conversation go along. I, as always, appreciate your time. Again, don't get distracted by urgency. Let's continue the conversation. And if you want to have a one-on-one with me, please book an appointment with me. I'll be more than happy to speak with you in more detail. And you guys are superstars. I'm really proud of you. We will see you on our next webinar. Talk to you soon.